My parents sold my late father's car to pay my brother's debts, so I bought it back and made sure they regretted every dollar. I'm a 28-year-old guy, and the last thing my father ever told me was to protect what matters. Those words used to sound poetic, almost dramatic, like something a grieving mind clings to for comfort. But after everything that happened with my family, I realized he meant them literally. And at the time, I thought I was doing exactly that. I handled everything when he passed every bill, every call, every document people tossed at me with sympathetic eyes. I remember standing in the funeral home, hands shaking as I signed papers. While my mother kept whispering that she couldn't deal with this right now, and my brother Jake was nowhere to be found. I didn't even get time to process my own grief. I was the one on the phone with insurance companies, the one guiding my mother through her breakdowns, the one making sure we didn't fall apart financially. Jake only showed up for the funeral, eyes red, but not from crying. He'd been hung over. I could smell it on him when he hugged me. The only thing that kept me grounded was Dad's car. It wasn't fancy and old, slightly beat-up classic sedan most people wouldn't look twice at. But he and I rebuilt that thing piece by piece since I was 15. Greasy summer afternoons, scratched knuckles, his voice teaching me every tool by heart. That car wasn't metal, it was memories. It was the only part of him I still felt I had. Jake never cared about the car. He always called it Dad's boring project and said it was embarrassing. Meanwhile, I'd sit in it after work and just breathe, letting the smell of old leather settle the chaos I carried since Dad died. But last week, I heard Jake whispering urgently to our mother in the kitchen. His voice was low, shaky, desperate. "Mom, I need to find a way out of this mess," he said, and something in my gut twisted, warning me that trouble was coming. I wish I could say Jake's whispering didn't bother me, but the truth is, it clung to me like a storm warning. I'd heard that tone before, the same shaky desperation he used when he crashed Mom's car in college, when he got fired for showing up drunk, when he owed money to people who didn't just send reminders. And I already knew how it would go. Jake would mess up. Our parents would panic, and somehow I would be expected to fix it. My mother has this incredible ability to look me dead in the eye and twist the narrative without even blinking. "Your brother is trying," she said one morning, her voice clipped with irritation after Jake stomped upstairs. Trying. Jake didn't try anything except testing how much he could get away with. Meanwhile, my father's car sat quietly in the garage, its faded blue paint catching the morning light like it was reminding me it was still there, still ours, still connected to the only parent who ever believed in me. I'd run my hand along the hood sometimes, feeling the faint scratches we left during one of our first sanding attempts. The smell of old oil and worn leather always pulled me back to the evenings Dad and I spent, laughing, arguing, learning. That car wasn't just sentimental, it was the last space where I still felt like his son. But every time I tried to find moments of peace, something shattered it. My mother started making small comments, barbed ones disguised as concern. "You've always had it easier than Jake," she'd claim. "You don't understand how sensitive he is." Or my favorite, "You're the responsible one. You can handle pressure." It was like being punished for being stable. Then, one night after dinner, I caught Jake near the garage door. He wasn't looking at me. He was staring directly at the car with this strange, calculating expression. When he realized I was watching, he jerked back and whispered, "It's nothing. Don't worry about it." But my stomach dropped, because Jake only said "don't worry" when he was hiding something big, and whatever it was, it was headed straight toward me. I found out the truth 2 days later, and it hit me like a punch to the chest. Jake wasn't just in trouble. He was in the kind of trouble that makes grown men shake. I was sitting in the living room after work when the doorbell rang. Before I could even stand, my mother rushed past me, panic already written across her face. 2 men stood outside tall, emotionless. The type who don't bother introducing themselves because their presence already explains everything. They asked for Jake by name. My mother's voice trembled as she said, "He's not home. Please, he's not here." One of the men looked at me instead. "He owes a lot. If he doesn't pay, we'll collect in other ways." It wasn't a threat. It was a statement. Cold. Certain, as soon as they left, My mother turned to me like I was the one who created the problem. "Why didn't you tell us he was struggling?" she snapped. I stared at her, stunned. "Mom, he hides everything. And he's an adult. I can't save him every time." She covered her face with her hands, crying in that way that made everything my fault. "We have to help him. He's your brother. Can't just abandon him." Then Jake walked in through the back door, eyes wide when he realized what happened. He shot me a glare, like I'd caused the confrontation. "You could have handled that," he muttered. "Handled what? Your debt? Your lies?" I snapped back. But instead of owning a single thing, he waited for our parents to fix it, to fix him. It's the same way they always did. My father's car sat quietly in the garage that night. The only thing that had ever stayed steady through all this chaos. I sat inside it, gripping the steering wheel, trying to calm myself. But even the comfort of those memories couldn't drown out the sickening feeling growing in my chest. Because when I later overheard my parents whispering in their bedroom, my mother said the words that made my blood run cold. "We'll have to do something. Something he won't agree to." And I already knew they meant me. The next morning felt off from the moment I woke up. The house was too quiet, like everyone was holding their breath. I walked into the kitchen and found my mother and Jake sitting together, whispering. Stopped the second I entered, wearing the kind of guilty expressions people get when they've already crossed a line and are just waiting to be confronted. I asked what was going on, but my mother just forced a smile that didn't reach her eyes. I didn't think much of it till I went to the garage. The second I pushed open the door, my heart dropped straight into my stomach. It's a space where my dad's car, always solder car, our years of memories, was empty. For a moment, I genuinely thought someone had stolen it. My vision blurred and I stumbled forward like I had to be closer to believe what I was seeing. The scent of old oil lingered in the air, almost taunting me. My hands shook as I ran them. Along the empty concrete floor, as if touching the cold ground would make the car reappear, I stormed back inside. "Where's the car?" My voice cracked and I hated how desperate it sounded. My mother wouldn't look at me. We had to do something, sweetheart. Jake needed help, real help. I stared at her, unable to process the words. "You sold Dad's car?" Jake rolled his eyes like I was being dramatic. "Calm down, it's just a car." I almost laughed, or screamed. I couldn't tell. That car was Dad's legacy, and the one thing I asked you never to touch. My mother finally snapped. "We didn't have a choice. Your brother's life was at risk. What were we supposed to do? Let him get hurt?" I stepped back, the room spinning. They hadn't even told me. They hadn't even asked in there. Saving Jake's latest disaster was worth more than keeping the one thing my father left behind for me. And the worst part? I wasn't sure what scared me more. The fact that they sold the car. Or the way Jake smirked, like this was only the beginning. I didn't feel anger at first. I felt hollow, like someone had reached into my chest and scooped out everything that had been keeping me standing since my father died. I leaned against the wall, trying to steady my breathing, but every inhale felt sharp. My mother kept talking, her voice shaking. "You have to understand. We did this for the family." But all I heard was, "We did this without you," and it rang so loudly that I couldn't form words. When I finally spoke, my voice was low, almost calm. "Who did you sell it to?" My mother froze. Jake looked away. That silence was an answer in itself. "Tell me," I pushed, my jaw tight. "You'll just make things worse," she snapped offensively. "Let it go. It's done. Let it go." The one thing connected to my father gone, because Jake messed up again. They wanted me to let it go. I turned to Jake. "How much did you even get for it?" He shrugged, completely unbothered. "Enough. Mom said it was collecting dust anyway. Collecting dust. That car carried memories, not dust." I felt heat surge through me. "You sold something that wasn't yours, something you never valued. Something Dad and I—" "Oh my God. Enough with the dad stuff," Jake groaned, rolling his eyes. "He's gone. Move on." The words hit harder than any punch. I stepped closer, my voice trembling. "Did you even think about what that car meant to me?" To him, Jake scoffed. "Man, it's just a hunk of metal. Grow up." My mother placed a hand on his arm like he was the victim. "Your brother is upset. Don't provoke him." I couldn't believe it. They were defending him. Again. I walked out of the kitchen before I said something I couldn't take back. My ears were ringing and my hands wouldn't stop shaking. I remember gripping the banister so hard I thought it might crack beneath me. I didn't know where the car was. I didn't know who had it. But in that moment, one thing crystallized inside me with painful clarity. I was going to get it back, no matter what it took. I spent the next morning in a haze, half furious, half numb, all determined. If my family wasn't going to tell me who they sold the car to, then I'd find out myself. I drove around town checking. Every used lot, every rundown corner where desperate people sell things fast and cheap. My chest tightened each time I passed a row of rusted vehicles. Hoping then, instantly fearing I'd see my father's car gutted or stripped for parts. The smell of gasoline and dust clung to me the entire day, mixing with the pounding anxiety in my head. By evening, I had nothing. Not a lead. Not even a rumor. I was about to give up when my phone buzzed. It was an old friend of my father's, Mark, who owned a small repair shop on the edge of town. "Hey," he said, voice cautious. "I heard about the car. You should stop by." I drove there without even grabbing a jacket. Cold wind whipping through the cracked window. When I walked into his shop, Mark didn't say anything at first. He just studied my face like he already knew how broken I felt. The smell of oil and metal filled the air, familiar, grounding. "You were here earlier looking for it," he said. "But you missed what was right in front of you." I frowned. "What do you mean?" He nodded toward the back garage. "It's not on the market." My heartbeat stumbled. "You know who bought it?" He gave a slow, almost reluctant smile. "Yeah, Alex did." I blinked, stunned. Alex, my father's closest friend, practically an uncle to me. "Why would—" Mark interrupted softly. "He bought it because he knew your parents would get rid of it someday. He told me he trusted only you to come for it." For a second, I couldn't breathe. The twist hit me like a wave. This wasn't just about losing the car. Someone else saw my family's betrayal coming before I did. Mark placed a hand on my shoulder. "Alex said he'd wait for you. But he's not selling it cheap." Sparks small but fierce lit inside me. If Alex was holding it, then the car wasn't lost. But getting it back was going to cost me more than money, and I knew my family wasn't done making things worse. I didn't sleep that night. I lay awake staring at the ceiling, replaying everything: my parents' betrayal, Jake's smirk, and Alex silently stepping in to protect something that should have never needed protecting. By sunrise, I made up my mind. If the price of loyalty was sacrifice, then fine, I'd pay it. But this time, it would be for my father. Not for people who only remembered I existed when they needed something fixed. I met Alex that afternoon at his place. His garage smelled like old leather and motor oil, a scent that made something tight in my chest loosen just a little. He opened the door with a nod. "Was wondering when you'd show," I swallowed. "Is it true? Do you really have the car?" Instead of answering, he led me outside to the back, and there it was. My father's car sat under a tarp. But I'd recognize that silhouette anywhere. My throat tightened. My hands shook as I lifted the cover and saw the familiar worn paint. The tiny dent from when Dad accidentally bumped the mailbox, the custom steering wheel we'd installed together. I whispered, "Dad." Alex crossed his arms. "Your old man loved this thing." "I wasn't about to let anyone trash it. I want it back," I said quietly. "I need it back." Alex nodded. "I'll sell it to you. But not for the pennies your family let it go for. I'm asking fair market value." I didn't flinch. "I'll find the money." He studied me. "This isn't just about the car, is it?" I shook my head. "No. It's about everything they took from him. And from me." So I worked. Days, nights, weekends, overtime I'd normally refuse. Odd jobs I'd never taken before. I sold things I cared about, held on to the bare minimum, lived on instant noodles and exhaustion. Every dollar saved felt like a step toward reclaiming something sacred, and while I grinded through every hour, my parents acted like nothing happened. Jake kept blowing money. My mother kept praising him for trying. My father's absence felt louder than ever, but when I finally handed Alex the last payment, he smiled softly and placed the keys in my palm. "This belonged to you from the start," he said, and as the metal pressed into my skin, I realized something else. The real fight was only just beginning. Driving the car again felt surreal, like stepping into a memory I thought had been ripped away forever. The engine rumbled just the way Dad liked it, low and steady. The leather smelled the same as all those late evenings we spent fixing loose wires or arguing about whether classic cars were dying art. For a moment, sitting behind that wheel, I felt whole. But the peace didn't last, because I knew something my parents didn't. I had the car back, and sooner or later they'd notice, to avoid the inevitable explosion. I kept the car at my friend Daniel's garage across town. Daniel didn't ask many questions, just raised an eyebrow when he saw the state I was in. "You all right, man?" he asked as I parked the car inside. "No," I admitted, "but I'm getting there." He nodded, understanding without prying. The clang of his tools echoed through the garage, grounding me in a way home never did. When I got back that night, the atmosphere felt brittle. My mother eyed me with suspicion as I walked in. "You've been out a lot lately," she said. "Is something going on?" I kept my face blank. "Just work." Jake scoffed from the couch. "He's acting weird, probably hiding something." The irony almost made me laugh. "Not everything is about you, Jake," I muttered. He shot up from his seat. "You think you're better than me now? Acting all self-righteous?" "Think I'm tired," I said softly. "Tired of all this?" My mother stepped between us like I'd just threatened him. "Don't start. Your brother is under a lot of pressure." Pressure. That was the word they used for every disaster he created. Over the next few days, the tension simmered. My parents seemed irritated by how distant I'd become, as if my silence was more offensive than Jake's chaos. They kept hinting sometimes, outright demanding that I get over the car situation, insisting I let it go already, unaware of the irony. But every time they pushed, something in me hardened because I wasn't letting anything go. And deep down, I could feel that something worse was coming. They weren't nearly as done with me as I was with them. I hit my breaking point on a Thursday evening, one of those nights where the sky feels too heavy, like even the weather is warning you, something bad is coming. I walked into the house after work and instantly felt the shift in the air. My mother was pacing the living room, phone clutched in her hand, eyes swollen from crying. Jake sat on the couch, pale and jittery, bouncing his leg like he was sitting on a live wire. My stomach twisted because I already knew Jake had done something again. The moment my mother saw me, she lunged forward. "Why didn't you tell us it was this bad?" I stiffened. "Tell you what." She shoved her phone toward me, screen lit with a long thread of messages from Jake's creditors' legal notices, this time not threats. Cold, official emails demanding repayment or further action. "We're being sued," she cried. "All of us. They're coming after the family assets." I stared at her in disbelief. "How is that my fault?" Jake exploded. "Because you bailed the minute things got hard. If you had helped when you were supposed to, none of this would have happened." I laughed, a broken, sharp sound I didn't recognize. "I wasn't supposed to save you. I'm not your father, Jake." He jumped to his feet. "You abandoned us." My mother joined in, voice shaking with fury. "You changed, ever since that stupid car. You became selfish, cold, you don't care about family anymore." Those words hit me harder than anything before. After everything I had carried, all the responsibilities I never asked for, all the sacrifices they never saw, they still believed I was the problem. I felt something in my chest crack, not anger this time, but exhaustion. Bone deep, soul-level exhaustion. For the first time in my life, I felt like my presence in this house only existed to be used, drained, and blamed. I looked around the living room, the place I grew up in, and realized I no longer belonged here. "I'm done," I whispered. "I can't live like this anymore," my mother gasped. "You're leaving now? When your brother needs you?" I didn't look back. I walked out the door with nothing but my keys, my wallet, and in the crushing weight of finally understanding. I wasn't their son anymore, just their scapegoat, and stepping outside that house felt like falling straight into rock bottom. I spent my first night away from home, sitting on the floor of a nearly empty apartment, one I barely managed to rent with what little savings I hadn't used to buy back the car. The place smelled like old paint and dust, and the air echoed with the kind of silence that makes your thoughts louder. I kept replaying every word my mother hurled at me, every accusation Jake spit out, every moment I swallowed pain just to keep peace. Now there was no peace left to protect. It's just me, and the hollow ache of everything I'd lost. But in the middle of that emptiness, something inside me finally exhaled. For the first time in years, I wasn't responsible for anyone's mess but my own. The next morning, I drove straight to Daniel's garage. The familiar hum of machinery, the warmth of oil-stained air, it felt more like home than my house ever did. Daniel glanced at me. "You okay?" "No," I admitted. "But I think I will be." He clapped my shoulder once, firm and grounding. "About time you chose yourself." So I did. I focused on work, real work, not the emotional labor my family demanded. I rebuilt routines, ate on my own schedule, slept without waiting for late-night crises. The silence I once feared became something comforting, almost sacred. My phone buzzed constantly at first calls, texts, voicemails. "Mom, we need to talk. Stop ignoring me. You're ruining everything." "Mom again. Your father would be ashamed of you." That one stung. But I didn't go back. Days turned into a week. A week stretched into 2. The messages became more desperate. My parents realized Jake's situation wasn't magically fixing itself this time. Their safety net had finally snapped. Then one night, Jake sent a message that made me pause. "You think this is over? You'll regret walking away." I stared at the screen, not angry, but tired. So unbelievably tired, because he still didn't understand. I hadn't walked away out of cruelty. I walked away because staying would have destroyed me. And deep down, quiet resolve began to form, sharp, steady, unshakable. This time, I wasn't just surviving. I was preparing. 3 weeks passed before I saw my family again. 3 weeks of silence, rebuilding. Breathing 3 weeks of remembering who I was before their chaos swallowed every part of me. When my cousin invited me to a small family gathering, I almost said no. But something in me, something steady and sharp, told me to go. Not for revenge at first, but for closure, for truth. For myself, I pulled up to the venue in my father's car, fully restored and gleaming under the afternoon sun. The engine's low growl echoed across the parking lot as I stepped out. People turned. Heads snapped toward me. My mother's jaw literally dropped. Jake froze mid-laugh, his eyes going wide like he'd seen a ghost. And in a way, he'd seen the one thing he thought was gone forever. My aunt came rushing up, smiling. "Oh my God, is that your father's car?" "How did you?" Before she could finish, Jake stormed toward me. "Where did you get that?" I kept my voice calm. "I bought it back." He blinked. "Bought it?" I nodded. "Yeah. From the man who bought it from you." Funny how that works when you don't sell things out from under people. My mother stepped in, face twisted with embarrassment. "You're making a scene." "No," I said quietly. "You made the scene the moment you sold Dad's car without telling me." Her voice cracked. We were desperate, and I wasn't worth a conversation. Whispers spread. Relatives stared at them, not me, with disapproval. Jake shoved my shoulder. "You think you're special because you bought some stupid car?" I held his gaze. "No, I think I finally stopped being your doormat." He stumbled back at the words. Stunned silence falling over the crowd. Then I said at the sentence that had been burning in my chest for years, "You don't get to blame me anymore for anything. Your life is your responsibility, not mine." My father's car gleamed behind me like a witness to the truth. I turned and walked away, leaving them standing in the mess they created. But even then, I knew the fallout had only just begun. I didn't plan on going no contact immediately, but something inside me shifted after that confrontation. Something deep, something final. I left the gathering without looking back, the cool evening air brushing against my skin like a quiet congratulations. Driving my father's car home, the engine humming beneath me, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Peace. Real, steady peace. The kind that grows only when you finally stop. Bleeding for people who never once bandaged you. The messages. from my family started that same night. Mom, you humiliated us. Jake, you think you're better than us? Mom, your father would be ashamed of the way you treated your brother. I didn't respond. Not to any of them. A week later, the tone changed. Mom, we need help. Mom again. Jake is in trouble again. Please call. Then the final shift: fear. They're taking things. Please answer. I didn't. This time, they had to live with the consequences of choosing Jake over and over again. Their savings? Gone. Their emergency funds? Drained. Jake begged them for money until they sold their own valuables, the jewelry, the electronics, even the furniture, the things they protected fiercely. They now sacrificed because their golden child demanded it. Meanwhile, I rebuilt my life slowly, steadily. My apartment became home. My routines became stable. My father's car, my car became a reminder of everything I survived. Sometimes I'd sit in it after work, fingers tracing the worn steering wheel, whispering, I kept my promise, Dad. The smell of old leather and engine oil no longer hurt. It grounded me. It reminded me that loyalty doesn't mean martyrdom. Eventually, the messages stopped. The silence felt less like absence and more like freedom. Jake burned every bridge he had, even with them. My parents finally stopped trying to fix him, but it was too late. Their world collapsed under the weight of their own choices. Mine didn't. I chose myself. I chose peace. I chose the legacy my father trusted me to protect, and every time I turn the key in that ignition, I'm reminded of the truth I learned the hardest way possible. Sometimes you don't get justice by fighting back. Sometimes you get it by walking away and letting people drown in the mess they kept choosing.